Hi and welcome to another episode of Delaware County Political News. I am your host, Larry DeMarco. Today we are here with Chairman David Landau, Chairman of the Delaware County Democratic Party. David Landau has been involved in politics, government, and public service for over 35 years. He currently serves as chairman of the Delaware County Democratic Party, one of the largest Democratic parties in Pennsylvania, a position he was first elected in 2010. He has been involved in numerous political campaigns and advised many candidates on the federal, state, and local level. In 1984, he served as deputy campaign manager and issues director for Senator Gary Hart's presidential campaign. He has also run for political office, including the United States Congress and Delaware County Council. For over 20 years, he chaired the Nether Providence Township Democratic Party. An attorney, David is currently partner at Duane Morris LLP, an international law firm of over 700 lawyers. He practices in the area of complex commercial litigation and trade secret and intellectual property litigation. Early in his career, he was National Staff Counsel of the American Civil Liberties in Washington, D.C., where he handled major civil liberties and civil rights litigation and represented the ACLU before Congress on legislative issues. He has testified more than 30 times on constitutional law issues before various congressional committees. He is a graduate of American University, Washington College of Law, and an honors graduate of Brown University. David, welcome to Delaware County Political News, and thank you for being a guest.
Thanks, Larry. Happy to be here.
David, tell us about your Democratic county candidate slate this year.
Well, we have a really excellent slate this year of 6 candidates that we have in our Delaware County. We have a county council, and we have no guaranteed minority representation by the minority party. So we have 5 at-large seats, 2 of which are up this year. Our candidates are Brian Zeidig and Kevin Madden. Brian is a businessman, a small business owner who comes to us like Kevin, out of the debacle of the last November's election. We have who've never been involved in politics before, but think it's time for new ideas and a fresh start in politics with not the same old politicians running our county government. And we can get into a little bit more of that later. Kevin also is business, native of Delaware County. He spent quite a large time of his career in private equity and rehabilitating companies in the United States so they don't have to send their business overseas, working with trade unions and others to keep those companies in business. He returned back to Delaware County several years ago, and he's involved very much in the tech world with startup companies. The other offices are what we call the row offices. So we have the county sheriff, we have Jerry Sanders, who's from Upper Darby, spent 20 years in the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office and is highly qualified to lead our Sheriff's Department. We have the County Controller, which is a critical office in Delaware County to conduct audits and oversee our tax money. And Joanne Phillips is our candidate. She is a real estate lawyer at the law firm of Ballard Spahr, has spent quite a bit of time in the Rendell administration overseeing all the statewide property efforts, and really knows and understands finance. We have the Register of Wills. Our candidate's Mary Walk from Swarthmore. She is an attorney, as you must be to be the Register of Wills, and has a general practice and is familiar with estates, trusts, and the whole functions of the Register of Wills office. We also have 1 seat on the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas. Our candidate's Kelly Eckel. She's one of my law partners at Duane Morris. She's been in practice for over 20 years, has wide experience, and she's been doing recently a number of arbitrations where she essentially acts as a judge and decides cases privately so people don't have to spend all the time and money going to court. So that rounds out our slate. It's a slate that's interesting in that 5 out of the 6 people have never run for office before. That's something we're very proud of because we think that's what government needs, is that kind of infusion, not the same old tired politicians.
David, one of your duties as chairman is to recruit candidates, is that correct?
Yes.
Describe the process on how these candidates were selected.
So again, we try to be an open party in Delaware County. We try to be open to new people and new candidates and new ideas. And after the last election, we decided to try to open the process up even more. So we advertised for candidates. We sent email blasts out saying, have you ever thought about running for office? You say you want to get involved, you're upset, you're angry about Donald Trump, it's time for me to get involved, well, here's your chance. And we had quite an overwhelming response to that. And I set up a candidate selection and recruitment committee of various people from around the county. They reviewed the resumes, they called people in for interviews, and ultimately they made recommendations to the party about who to endorse for these seats. And it worked quite well.
What criteria was used in this selection?
Well, the committee had a number of criteria looking at their background, their professional background, their educational backgrounds, their political involvement, if any, their time commitment they could make to the race. We look at, unfortunately, in today's world, we have to look at their ability to raise money or their willingness to raise money to help fund the campaigns. And we talked to people who knew them, recommendations, references, but basically we interviewed them and we spent time with them, and we wanted to know what motivated them to run for office and what would they be like as an elected official. Because the issue for us today in Delaware County in the Democratic Party is to find candidates not only who will be good candidates, but who can govern when they win, who will be excellent elected officials. And some of that, frankly, is a little intangible. It's you sit across the table from someone, you want to know that they're a person of high integrity, that they're going to be responsible, they're going to listen to people.
Previous years, the county sometimes had trouble filling some candidate seats. Is that true?
Yes, we have not always run a full slate at the county or local level. That's correct.
And so how did this year's applications compare or contrast to previous years?
Well, in previous years, first of all, county government is what I call the hidden government. And in order to want to run for office, you have to actually know that there's an office to run for. And part of the success of the Republican Party is sort of to hide government and hide what they do. And many people know what their town government does because if the snow's not plowed or the leaves aren't collected, you know that there's a problem with your county government and also the county, your local government. Your local municipal government also has your police and fire. The county government's a little different, so it's a little more difficult to recruit for it. But what I'll say this year, it's been something that's been trending a little bit over the last couple of years. As the party's grown bigger, there's been a little bit more interest in running for office. But there's no doubt that what happened last November 8th with the election of Donald Trump has motivated thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of people to want to become involved in politics. Because the reason we had trouble recruiting people is people sat on the sidelines. They said, that doesn't matter, someone else can do this. And I think the lesson of the Trump election is people saying, I can't sit on the sidelines. This is why Donald Trump happened. I need to get involved. And whether it's running for office, whether it's knocking on doors with people, whether it's making phone calls, we're seeing this incredible level of involvement, and it's reflected in the number of applications. So we had no problem recruiting for office this year, and frankly, we're already well into our 2018 recruitment for State House and State Senate and Congress. You're seeing it there too, where the 7th congressional seat, we already have 6 people running in the primary.
David, right after the election, after the November election, you actually held an info session at one venue, but you had a certain response and had to change that venue. Please explain to the county what happened.
So one of the things we saw after the election was this tremendous interest in these spontaneous organizations sprouting up called they're the Resistance, it's called today, and some of it's indivisible. They have other names, and people were calling saying, I want to get involved. So we decided to host, so you want to get involved in politics. We called it they called it Next Steps, coming off of the Obama campaign, and try to get people involved. And we thought if we were lucky we'd get 75 or 100 people, so we reserved a room at a local library, and within a week of putting it up on Facebook, we had 250 people registered. So we said, well, we closed it off. We said, we have to get a new space. So we went to a local middle school. Auditorium held about 500 or 600 people. And within 48 hours of reopening registration, we were at 400 people. And 4 days before, we had to close it out, and we had over 600 people attend. And many of the people in that room, most of the people in that room were new and didn't even know basic things about political involvement. And so it became sort of a seminar on, for example, when you go in to vote and somebody's sitting behind the table checking you in, and I asked the audience, do you know how those people get there? And everybody, no. I said, did you know that that's an elected position? And you could hear the gasps in the room. People didn't know that the judges and inspectors of election, the people who run the polling place, are elected. And they're in fact being elected this year, and that they could run for those offices. And so it sort of helped our recruitment even at that level.
Sure, and that was so popular, that event that you held, you actually had to turn people away, didn't you?
Yeah, we turned people away, and we're going to be we've been holding smaller events like that, and we're going to be holding another event in September with all of the different resistance groups to get them to know more of the political party people if they want, and get to know us and start working with us.
David, share with our viewers the history of party control in the county courthouse.
Well, that would take me several hours, but it is. There's
summary.
David, I understand.
A few sentences or
less. Yeah, so
I
would say, the Republican Party of Delaware County, like the National Republican Party, came out of the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln and so forth. But in this county, what happened quickly thereafter, and this is important to understand because it goes right up to the future, that the Republican Party decided that it wanted to control the liquor licenses in Pennsylvania. And in the 19th century, liquor licenses were very valuable for local bars, and they were valuable commodities, and they were controlled by the courts. The judges actually handed them out, and so approved the application. So it was important to elect the right judge, and it became a corrupt system at that point, at its inception. And then that spread out to other industries and other types of things involving permits to do different kinds of work. And a party boss system sprung up, which was handed down and largely created in the early part of the 20th century by a guy named William McClure, who became a state senator, who went to jail during Prohibition as a bootlegger, came out and was more powerful than ever before. And he created a system in which of low-paying jobs in county government for operatives in the party, and people would be able to get these jobs, and it eventually grew to thousands, and either their neighbor, their sister, their brother, their son, their nephew, someone would have a job, and their job, and because they had a job, they had to serve the party and make sure people came out to vote for the right candidates. They actually had to tithe part of their salary back to the Republican Party, and every time you'd think this system would get blown up, it would come right back in a different form, and it was called the War Board. It was a group of people who were unelected officials who ran this system. In the early 70s, there were indictments, people went to jail, but it kind of sprung up in the 80s in a different way, and the political machine exists today as powerful as it ever was. They have jobs, it enriches lots of people who give campaign contributions. It is what's known as the pay-to-play culture, with contractors getting deals and then giving money back to the party to elect Republican officials.
And if people want to learn more about this, there actually has been a book written about this by a Millersville professor, hasn't there, David?
Yes, Ruling Suburbia by McLaren, right?
Sure, John McLaren.
Yeah.
Now, David, you mentioned that this is still relevant. What is the current status of the courthouse in terms of political power?
So there's never been a Democrat. There's been, in 140 years, there's been one Democrat popularly elected in Delaware County. The last time true popular election, was in 1934, when we elected a sheriff for 2 years when I talked about John McClure went to jail. It's the last time. There's never been a Democrat elected to the bench to a judgeship in Delaware County. There's never been a Democrat elected to the modern county council or any of these other offices. And when you have that kind of lack of diversity, lack of an opposition party in government, it breeds corruption. And if you look at Delaware County and its operation compared to our sister counties, you can see it right away. So you cannot find out how our money's spent in Delaware County. They have these macro line item on the budget. You can't find out how our department is run. You can't find out how the money is spent. It's not on the website. You go to any other county, you can find it on their website. You have a system in which particular individuals enrich themselves at taxpayers' expense. The lawyers for the county is called the county solicitor's office. We have a county solicitor. He makes $150,000 a year, but it's not a full-time job for him. He's allowed to have outside employment, and he gets other solicitorships from local towns. But that's not bad enough. You have a number of lawyers who work for the county do a good job, and I have to be fair here that they run abuse orders and other things for the courts. There's a small group of them. But we have 21 or 22 lawyers who work for the county. And you can look at it. My counterpart, the Republican Party chairman, served on county council for 8 years. He got a salary, he's in the pension system, gets health care. When he came out of that system, the district attorney's office created a job for him at the same salary, about $50,000 a year, so he could continue building up his pension health care. It was a patronage job, he didn't have to do anything for it. Then he left that. Now he's a deputy county solicitor. He also is the managing partner of a very large Philadelphia area law firm's media office. So he has a full-time job, but we're paying him $56,000 a year. Why? And if you add all of that up, we pay these lawyers over $1 million a year. And if you look at the contributors to the party, it's all of those lawyers. And so this is what this system is wrought. It's basically taking money out of our pockets to feed the political machine. It's the most inefficient way to run a county government, and that's why we pay a higher percentage of taxes than any other of our surrounding counties.
And giving us information and statistics, but you have access to right-to-know requests that give you this information. Isn't that correct?
So we've gone in and done huge right-to-know requests, but it's 25 cents a page. We have to spend thousands of dollars of our own money to find out what our elected officials are actually doing. And let me give you one other fact about what's the effect of this. So Delaware County government, $500 million a year, taxpayer taxes are coming into the government, spending money. It's a big budget. You would think that each of the departments, of course, you would audit that every once in a while to find out what's going on in these departments. Our controller doesn't conduct any audits. There are no audits of the prison system. And we've had, in the last couple of years, we've had embezzlements in the sheriff's office, register of wills office, and other places because there are no audits. We don't even have a watchdog. Even though we elect one, the watchdog doesn't do anything.
And also, David, you mentioned about patronage and cost to taxpayers. There was just an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer about the prison system. That would be an example of what you're referring to, correct?
Right. There's a board of prisons supposed to oversee that. It's the only privatized prison in the state. Where's the audits? There are no audits of what's going on there.
In contrast, David, what is your vision for the county and the Democratic Party?
Well, we're going to open up county government. We're going to bring the sunshine into county government. And we're going to be accountable for every dollar of taxpayer money that's spent. We're going to create efficiencies, and we're fortunate that we have a role model. We know what Montgomery County did when Democrats took over there. They went in and found the inefficiencies in government, and that's the first thing we're going to do. Is we're going to get rid of the people. We're going to get rid of no-show jobs. We're going to bring the budgetary thing. We're going to ask the right questions about why are we spending money on this? Why are we spending money on that? And we're going to, just by that, effectuate lots of savings. But beyond that, we're going to have an active agenda. So we're the largest county in Pennsylvania, and I'm told maybe even the largest in the country that has no county health department. When you tell people outside Delaware County there's no county health department, over 500,000 people live in the county, and that's the kind we have to look at a county health department. Particularly, things, if there was a Zika outbreak or any, they have some emergency management system, but there's no proactive county health department. We don't have a formal economic development department, which is assisting municipalities and the community in bringing in jobs. It's sort of haphazard. Company wants to relocate there, sure, county council tries to lure them. But other counties have a whole department that does that. We have one person. So we have an agenda to create more jobs, bring more industry in, look at the waterfront, have more comprehensive planning. There's a real lack of attention, open space. Again, the government, company gives, a private entity gives a grant, we create more bike trails and our county council takes credit for it. But our other counties have a 20-year vision for open space, parks, recreation, and not just out in the western part of the county where we have empty space. I'm talking about in the inner ring suburbs where you can take vacant lots, or in the city of Chester, you can take vacant lots and turn them into inner city parks. That's open space, and people who live in densely populated areas need open space as well. So we have to be creative about that. And in each of these towns, we have 49 towns in Delaware County, and it has a proud history of being fiercely independent. Many of them have their own police departments. They used to have all their own school districts. But they on their own can't revitalize their downtown areas. They need help. They need to band together. They need to have comprehensive planning. That's something the county can do, and that's what I hope a Democratic county council would do.
David, as the leader of the party, what are your duties as chairman?
Well, I think of the party as like any other organization, as a charitable organization or even a business. I'm the chief executive officer and chairman of the organization. So I am overseeing the day-to-day operations of the party. So I have to make sure that what I'll call the trains run on time. And that means on election day, we have people sitting inside the polling places. That means we have our authorized watcher certificates for people who are going to poll watch for us to make sure everything's going okay. That means we have sample ballots distributed and we have poll coverage. And to that end, we have an office, a full-time office, and I have a full-time executive director. It's one of the things I brought to the party when I got elected in 2010. Shelley Rahman is our current executive director, is doing a great job. And so I oversee her, I supervise her, and make sure she and the volunteers are in the office are making sure the business of the party is run. So recently, we have every year a number of people who get elected in the primary, something happens, and they can't run in the fall because they move away, they change jobs, and we have to make sure that we have substitute nominations and that paperwork is filed correctly. So that's one thing. And that, of course, all costs money to run an office, so one of my other duties is I'm the fundraiser in chief for the Democratic Party. And I not only have to make sure the party has enough funds, but I have to assist our ticket and all of our candidates in raising money and making introductions to the stakeholders. I'm the public spokesperson for the party. I'm the face of the party, and I speak out on public issues and about elected officials, things that are happening. I represent the party at public events. I'm the liaison to the community groups such as labor unions and environmental groups and women's health organizations. I'm the liaison for the party to those organizations. A big part of my duty is candidate recruitment. I must make sure that we run slates everywhere. I also have to make sure that our municipal committees, all of our towns have municipal committees, that they're run properly and through an open process. We have bylaws that govern the organization. It's an open organization. We have meetings open to any Democrat. We don't do things in the back room. We run our meetings under Robert's Rules of Order, and I have to make sure that all of our municipal committees are functioning in that way as well.
David, you described the GOP and the local county party and this well-documented literature about this huge patronage system and all these extra jobs that are created and this income that the members of that party are receiving. Now let's talk about the Democratic Party. I know you have one employee, Shelley Rahman, the executive director, but do you have any other employees?
No.
And is there any of the other party members that get paid anything except maybe a solicitorship? One or
well,
two?
No party official gets paid to be a party official, and we do not pay our committee people to stand outside on election day, as the Republicans do. I personally don't have any business my law firm through the Democratic Party that I've personally gotten through the party in terms of representing a government. There are members of the Democratic Party, of course, when we have a Democratic town and they need to hire their solicitor, of course they hire a Democratic solicitor.
How about the county?
No, no one gets anything from Delaware County government, and certainly I don't. Mine's a total volunteer job, as all of our officers are, and we're a volunteer organization.
And what is the county budget again?
Over $500 million.
And how many private contracts come from that?
Oh, tens of millions of dollars. I mean, if like, for example, in school districts, building school buildings and renovating school buildings, tens of millions of dollars. And they hand out tens of millions of dollars in contracts. In addition, the county government is another example. Federal community development block grants to underserved areas for economic development and other projects. It's called a block grant because it goes from the federal government to the state government as a block, and then the county actually hands out that money. So each municipality has to apply to the county government, and most of the time it's done in a political way. Some Democratic towns do get some money, but overall, if you look at the pattern, far more goes to the pet projects in the Republican towns. So that's the kind of power they have. It's not even the county taxpayer money, it's federal money that's coming into the county. It's all run by the county government.
David, we heard a little bit about your background in the beginning, but fill us in a little bit more detail. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Delaware County. I went to Haverford High School, went away to college, moved back here in 1985 to run for the 7th Congressional seat when it was open, and got back involved in politics then. I always like to tell a story. My real effort, though, was in the early 90s. I was in my ward was a 3-to-1 Republican ward, and nobody was running for committee, and I wrote myself in, and I soon found that I was the chairman of the party, and Bill Clinton had just won my town and Delaware County. He was the first presidential candidate in a long time, had won in 1992, and my ward seat opened up, and I went to a neighbor of mine, and he was a 3-to-1 Republican ward, and I said to her, if you knock on every door, I'll run your campaign, and I think we can win this ward, even though it's 3-to-1 Republican. I think these are not really real Republicans. They all vote for a good Democrat. And Sarah Petrosky won that in 1993, and that led into 1995 to running a full slate in Nether Providence, which is a 2-to-1 Republican town, and we took it over.
These are commissioner seats.
Commissioner seats. And so that was sort of the beginning of me figuring out how Delaware County really could be a Democratic county, and looking at the potential for Delaware County and looking at people voting for the person and not ideology. And I did that for a long time, and it's taken a long time to build up the infrastructure at the county level so we could do the same thing at the county level, but I believe 2017 is our year.
David, a lot of people watch the news and are disgusted with federal politics and what they see on the television. Why is it important to get involved in local politics?
There are a lot of reasons, but people complain not just about Washington, but about Harrisburg. You know, we have a terrible problem in this state. We don't have a budget right now. And we got a state house that's saying no new revenue. We're the only state that doesn't put an extraction tax on Marcellus Shale. And yet our schools are struggling because of lack of school funding, haven't recovered from the Corbett years with all the massive education cuts, and on and on. So there's two things going on in 2018. The path to winning in those years starts at the local level. You can't just come in and say, oh, we're going to take the 7th congressional seat. You have to build up the organization. You have to build up the excitement and the participation. People have to believe that you can win these seats. And that all starts in these off-year elections. If we're able to beat the machine this time, it opens up the world to us in 2018 and beyond. You know, we do very well in presidential elections in Delaware County. Donald Trump only got 37% of the vote. If 50% of those people who never vote off-year elections came out in off-year elections, Democrats will win every race they were, because we simply outnumber the Republicans. But people have to care about that. And if you don't believe how important these local elections are, you can go back through history and talk about the Supreme Court justices and the judges on the Superior Court who come out of Delaware County. But Pat Meehan is the congressman of the 7th Congressional District. Before Pat Meehan was a congressman, he was the elected district attorney of Delaware County. He went up through that system to get to where he was. When everybody complains about the gerrymandering, which you may have talked about in politics, particularly in Delaware County, well, the way we work local redistricting is the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania appoints the tie-breaking vote on the redistricting commission. And in the last redistricting, that tie-breaking vote was a senior Superior Court judge named Steve McEwen, who prior to that was on the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas and the district attorney in Delaware County. So if you go through a lot of important positions in this state, and decision making, it all comes from the local government. They move their way up. And if we can break that system at the local government, then we've opened up things at the top. And we have incredibly important state house races next year. We've got to elect more people to the Democrats to the state Senate. We've got to elect more people to the state house. The leadership of the state house on both sides of the aisle is in the western part of the state. There's no southeastern leadership. How can that be? Most of the population of Pennsylvania lives in the southeast of Pennsylvania. But we don't have anybody in the leadership in the legislature. And I could go on and on about all the different ways, but winning these elections opens things up. When you control the Board of Commissioners or your borough council, and you control the school board, you don't get there unless you've created a grassroots network of people who then you can call upon to vote in even year elections and off year elections. And that's the importance of this. And we're running so many candidates who are running vigorous campaigns across the county. I see this network coming alive. And if there's success here, then it's going to really energize us into 2018 and beyond.
David, for people who are watching and they want to get involved, who should they contact? What should they do?
Well, they want to get involved. The easiest way is to go to www.delcodems.com and hit the sign up button and sign up. And then you get notified, and the local committee where you live will get notified. The other thing is to go on our website, and you'll see a little bar on the right-hand side that says Your Town. To click on that and go to the local Democratic committee. So you click on Radnor, the Providence, or wherever you live, Upper Darby. They all have websites, and they all have ways to get involved. You can go to DelcoVictory2017.com, and that is our county candidates, and you can help sign up there for the county ticket. But those are the easiest ways to get involved.
And people who have particular talents and want to help, what specific things do you need in committees and campaigns?
They need everything. We need people who are willing to help with Facebook, managing websites on the technology side. We need people who want to help write things, who can help with the newsletters that our committees put out. We need people who are going to want to make phone calls. We need people who want to help organize events or small coffee clutches for our local candidates. There's many things that need to be done.
David, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
I'm optimistic. I think that even though there's much to be upset about and pessimistic about at the national level, I do think that I see a level of energy and involvement that I've really never seen before. And I think people have finally woken up to the importance of participating in elections and campaigns. And I think certainly in Delaware County, the future is very bright for the Democratic Party.
David, I know you're busy, and I want to thank you for giving your time to appear on Delaware County Political News.
Thanks for having me.
I am your host, Larry DeMarco, and we've been here with David Landau, Chairman of the Delaware County Democratic Party. If you like this video, please share this link with everyone on your contact list and your Facebook friends. We're signing off. Tune in next time. Bye for now.